What happens when we're no longer constrained by the limits of the physical world? We are Altair, and these are the questions that drive us. To bring together the most powerful forces in technology.
Good morning and good afternoon. This is Luca Frattari, Global Vice President for Architecture, Engineering and Construction at Altair Engineering, now part of Siemens Digital Industries Software. Welcome to the Altair Technology Conference for AEC 2025. We have hundreds of attendees connected online to join the event. This event featured 19 presentations for 21 speakers from 6 different countries. Let's take a quick look at the agenda. We're going to have a main session featuring 5 speakers. And after the main session, the event will offer 4 separate tracks with contribution from the specialists in the field of timber, concrete, steel, and facades. Each session will be followed by a workshop and a live Q&A. We're going to hear from the industry leader and understand what's their vision and how technology and innovation is shaping the future of our industry. I'm confident those presentations will be worth your time. Before we move on, just a few housekeeping notes. The event is broadcast in 3 major time zones, so to select the language of your choice, just click the hyperlink in the chat and then pick the language you like. During the event, we're going to have the possibility to win prizes, and to do so, simply participate in the polls that will pop up during the event. You just have to click on polls in the chat area to stand the chance to win Altair swag and e-gift vouchers. The poll question will appear sporadically through the event. Just click on polls to answer the questions. You can also meet other attendees at the event by clicking on the networking tab, and then you have the option to connect, request a meeting, or invite to a call so that we can have a more engaging time together. And now, without further ado, I just want to thank you for joining us and enjoy the 2025 ATC for AEC. Thank you for joining my talk, the Altair Technology Conference for AEC 2025. The goal of this talk is to provoke a reaction or even to confuse you on some of the topics that this day innovation is generating. I'm sure you have given thoughts about most of the topic that I will mention today, and I will be very interested in hearing your comments afterwards. So let's start with a story. And once upon a time, there was a planet inhabited by humans that at some point accelerated their technological evolution rapidly. So rapidly that at some point they had to choose. focus on Earth or focus on space. And let's say that we decided to focus on space, since we as humans are explorers and builders. And what are we gonna use for space exploration? Are we going to craft ships to carry humans and biological life forms? Or are we going to send in the outer space non-biological entities? That would make a big difference in the type of ship we want to build and the type of journey we want to take. So those choices, they do have a lot of implication with the architecture, engineering, construction, and operation industry as well. Like how are we going to support those operations from Earth? And how will the build environment change if we take such decision? So among the reason for space exploration, probably the story of 16th Psyche may offer an interesting angle. So there is an asteroid named 16th Psyche that has been estimated to value 10 quintillion. A quintillion is the number 1 followed by 18 zeros. And this value is basically based on how much that precious metal would be sold on Earth if we were able to mine it. Now, it seems kind of silly to think about, going to mine asteroids and so, but if we have to, what kind of engineering support such mission would need? And this is why I also invite you to attend the presentation from Cascanex, since they had an important say in a very similar situation and on a very interesting structure. And I'm talking about supporting rocket launching system that we'll see in a bit. So how are we going to support that? How are we going to create structure that are able to support such missions? And what you see here, this is the NASA Mobile Launcher 2 for the Artemis mission, where Cascanex invented and casted the structural nodes that connects the various modules of the launcher. I'll invite you to stay for their speech, because you will see how they work and create those nodes and what the engineering that is behind it. So let's say that instead of focusing on space, we decide to focus on Earth. So in 2022, Earth passed the point of no return, so we're consuming natural resources at an unprecedented speed. But in 2024, we also discovered 190 new species across the globe, including mammals and fish and amphibians and butterflies. So are we going to use a mindset that's gonna able to help the planet? Because there is still a lot that we need to explore, right? And what is the right decision? Continuing exploration above water, underwater on the planet, but is the planet going to last until we discover all of it? And if we don't adopt a different mindset, where are we going to live in the future? Like, what type of future are we going to expect if we don't start living by this credo: reduce, reuse, and recycle? Single wrapped food is true, it's real. So is that wrapping recyclable? Yes. Is reusable? Maybe, but we should reduce that for sure. So what type of future are we going to have? Do we want to have a future like this, where the change of mindset create a great environment for technology and nature and human beings to be this type of scenario? And that sort of brings me to another question I have for you. So what is your take on the future? Like, are you optimistic or are you pessimistic? And what type of optimism you have is like more towards, space exploration and a utopian future, or you are more pessimistic in a dystopian future. Of course, the truth is not that polarized. There are specialists in the sector that think that we're going to have 3 different scenarios in the future or 4 different scenarios in the future. But this is my take on what may be interesting to discuss. Like, we could refuse what's happening at the climate level and refuse the pollution issues, and maybe the technology wasn't fast enough to save the planet. That risked the true collapse. Or we could actually got it right, and we have an environment where technology and nature coexist nicely, and we have universal income and universal healthcare. And I want you to make a mental note of this universal income and healthcare, because later I have another question for you as well. But we may also find ourselves into a world where there is an exasperated wealth divide, where we have golden cities where you can have access to everything versus horrible slums. But we're not going to be alone in this journey. And we're not going to be alone because we've been building robots. And we're building humanoids that, as you may heard from the news, they've been deployed recently in factories to perform still simple works, but works 24/7. Now, those robots are here to last and to stay with us. Now, how is this change going to affect our industry? Because right now, we're still designing buildings that have to be fabricated by humans. So the dimension of certain panels or even screws, and the concept of connecting components together is based on the fact that we as a human use hands and we can carry certain weights and so forth. As the dimension of the Crystal Palace were defined because 2 humans could carry a glass pane rather than a certain bigger glass pane. So are we going to change the way we design as well buildings to accommodate humanoids and cobots, or not? Now, the next construction site could be something like this, and what type of components are we going to use? What type of integration between the structure, the delivery of the components, the logistic? What type of integration are we looking for? Or not? But if the previous picture was something artificially generated, this is not. So what you see here is the use of bots or cobots or aids for the construction industry. And I've seen with my own eyes, cobots transporting panels 24/7 in a construction site in Tokyo, from the morning when I was waking up until I was going back again to the hotel in front across the street. There was this cobot that was loading up panels and then delivering them in the construction site, and then going back and do it again and again and again for 7 days straight. So what is next? They say that in 3 to 5 years, we may have robots that would cost $20,000 to $50,000 or $60,000, and there are also saying about we're gonna work only 2 days a week. So the question for you or for everyone is are we gonna get paid for 2 days a week or for 5 days a week? Because in that new economic model, how are we going to survive? And as you know, AI now has a narrow intelligence that is at the superhuman levels, but not general intelligence yet. In 2015, surpassed the mouse brain power. In 2023, surpassed human brain power, and 2045 is expected to surpass all human brain power. So basically what I'm trying to say is that on a specific subject, AI has an higher IQ of Albert Einstein, and scientists are expecting in 20 years to have a super AI which will solve problems that would be outside human comprehension. And again, another question, will AI evolve also in artificial wisdom and be able to evaluate things based on other parameters too? This is something that I don't know the answer, but it's a topic that's really interesting to me. So I'm cautious that some of the remarks above may find more ground in a sci-fi movie than this conference, but I really wanted to share some of the comments and the answers that I gathered in the past 15 years when meeting with thousands of colleagues and clients and listening to what they wanted to do and the issue that they had, the roadblocks and so forth. So it would be interesting to hear from you also. What's your take on that? So now that a broad panoramic of what's happening has been outlined, let's take a look more specific on how AI is impacting our industry, because it's gonna be everywhere, and it's already I already seen construction contracts to be compared and redefined and readjusted to find common grounds at incredible speed. But this is not just a matter of using the tools. We need to understand where the tools are gonna work and what is the layer of tools that are gonna help us, and what are the areas that are gonna be impacted. So the areas are pretty much everywhere, from smart buildings, smart factories, smart campuses, from the humanoids, the cobots, the data security, sustainability, even a payment blockchain system could be happening in the near future. And investments are massive. And just we have to remember that still 70% of our industry is moving from blueprints to digitization, to then move to digitalization. So the investment in this area would be massive. And the usage of certain tools and approaches has generated a lot of debates. And there are three that are really keen to me to understand, like the ethic, as I said before, artificial wisdom, if you allow me to say so, copyrights, who owns the copyrights of what's generated, and the business models. Is having a univocal answer from a problem ethical? Is it correct? The recent changes in the copyrights from ChatGPT, sparked concerns among the peers, like do we have safety guardrails in place to do so? And most importantly to me is, are we witnessing the end of our hourly rate business model? Like, we want to accelerate, we want to find a way to accelerate the design workflow and reduce the error, reduce the risk, but our business model is somehow based on ours. So the number of tools available in AEC is large, and in addition to the usual suspects for general tasks, which are around 15, we have 40 plus tools for construction and documentation, 50 for design and engineering, and then the generative design portion of it. But I'd like to take a step back and ask, how did we got here? What happened, and how come that we arrived at this point so fast? And are you better off with technology than you were 5 years ago? Is that impacted profoundly your discipline so far, or still we're trying to understand how to adopt this super powerful advancement? In 2008, in Altair, we were able to generate this topology optimization of a supporting structure for a long span roof. This is 2008. We could do this, and this is a close-up of the supports. And we could also analyze the wind flow as a concept design tool. It was an iterative process: create a model, run the analysis, see the results, and make the changes, and so forth. And we could generate structure like those. beautiful, organic-like, very advanced. But imagine if we could use generative design workflow to deliver, for instance, prefabrication and modular construction. If we could combine it with all the performance that are requested, if we could validate it according to local regulation, if you could deliver a true, generative design-based approach, and simultaneously also look and calculate the carbon footprint of the project on the spot. And I mean tracking where the components are from, the cost of the transportation, because as you know better than I do, you may have a manufacturer in one place that ship the product in another place that needs to do some operation on the component and then ship back perhaps on the construction side, inspection side, and so forth. So this tracking could be done at the same time of the design of the structure. So it's a matter of teaching our models to learn what to do. So where do I want to take this to wrap this up? The industry is looking for generative design workflow in a global learning loop. So global and local model, which could be a structure like this, so the global structural system and the nodes, but could be the module of a prefabricated house and the entire assembly, or could be an assembly of a facade system and all those parts, and learn the reason why certain components are attached to others and not, and why certain shapes are generated according to the standards, the code compliances, and the wind, and the location, and the view that you could have. So what you have seen done in 2008, and this has been happening to some extent already. There are projects that have been built with this approach of generative design and a combination of the expertise of the users and their 30, 40, 50, 60 years of experience and technology. And you may see more from Eric Long from SOM later in this presentation that kindly shared the slides with me. So basically, at the end, what the industry is looking for is a workflow where CAD, CAI, PLM, generative design, and data science are working together in an agentic workflow, in a loop that train the models and then can generate those results. Now, the very last question I have for you is, what do you want to go? Where would you like to take your team, your discipline, your company in the next 5 years? And that's why I believe that a partnership with Altair, now part of Siemens Digital Industry Software, really makes sense. Because this is the way we have been interacting with our clients for the past 15 years. This is Luca Frattari. Thanks for listening to me, and enjoy the rest of the event. Thank you.